Toro McJohnson. I am not a late-ass MF, okay? I wanted to watch the entirety of the post-game show. Hello, and welcome aboard a live edition of the Gallant Says podcast on Wednesday, March 27th of 2024. It is 11:03 Central Time. And guess what, guys? The Houston Rockets have now won a 10th straight game. They are 37-35, still a game back of the Golden State Warriors, after winning what I think is easily the most fun basketball game we've seen the Houston Rockets play since I last lived here. I mean, I left in 2019, was in Seattle for a couple of years, and that game tonight was just electric in every possible way. It's one of those games where the basketball wasn't necessarily of the highest quality. There was a lot of slop, bad passes, bad turnovers, bad shots. But God, the athleticism made everything look cool. So this was close to a Fast and Furious movie. And the reason the Houston Rockets won again is because Jalen Green is continuing this abso-fucking-lutely insane run of dominant play. The numbers don't actually do him justice. He had 37 points on 14 of 24 from the field. He was 7 of 11 from outside after not the best night from outside Monday against Portland, though. Started cooking in the second half. Nearly had 10 rebounds. He ends up with 9. 7 assists, a couple of steals. He was tremendous in this game. But that's just the numbers. If you watch this game, you know what you saw. I know what I saw. And while I'm still hesitant to believe that Jalen Green is going to be one of the best players in the NBA over the course of this month, you could argue he has been playing the best basketball in the league. And who the fuck would have thought that with where we were going into the All-Star break? I have a bunch of notes over here in my show rundown. I was trying to keep track of all the incredible highlights that Green had. I bet if you were to put together a YouTube montage of the best Green moments tonight, it would be over 10 minutes long. There was one moment where the Rockets weren't playing so well. Lots of bad passes in the second quarter where he takes a 1-on-3 3 in transition. Swish. Early third quarter, he blows by Chet Holmgren, who's a damn good shot blocker, for a layup. I do not know how he was able to squeeze that one in. There's another pull-up 3. He gets an offensive rebound with an and one layup in the early third. Some more nothing but net threes. I'm just reading from a list. They were back-to-back. One of them was a step back. He blocked a shot after Wiggins did a great spin move on him. You thought he was going to blow by him. Nope. He had another and one with insane hang time. He basically double clutched the ball. I think he got swatted. He caught it. He put it back up. Right before this game went to overtime, where it looked like the Rockets may have delivered the dagger, he penetrates through the lane and hits Jabari in the corner. It was the 7th straight Rocket point. It gave them the lead. He has a beautiful defensive play under the basket underneath. The Rockets kind of fuck it up in the last minute by not fouling. The Thunder get a 3. It goes to overtime. But right at the very end, somehow, some way, on an inbound play, Green goes around the entire Thunder defense. And, I mean, if the ball hits a different spot of the rim, that thing is falling. And this game ends in regulation on a buzzer beater by Jalen Green. He was incredible in this game. And if you haven't watched it, I hope you DVR'd it. Watch the whole thing back. This game was awesome, specifically due to Jalen Green, but also because the Rockets overcame, for the second straight game, a lot of self-inflicted mistakes. The second quarter, they could not pass to save their life. There was a sequence where Amen Thompson had a bad turnover over under the basket, and this started Josh Giddey on his ridiculous hot streak. Jalen Green got stripped while driving. Fred VanVleet got stripped while driving. Giddey had multiple and ones in transition as a result of those stripped balls. The bad passes, gross. The non-fouling at the end. But instead of, as Calvin Murphy and as Gerald Green were talking about on the Space City Home Network broadcast afterwards, there was no bitching. There was no whining at the referees. They moved on. And under Stephen Silas, they probably wouldn't have done it. Honestly, earlier in the year, they probably wouldn't have done it. They have matured a lot. And obviously, it's going to be still difficult for them to get into the playoffs, get into the play-in. But holy shit, guys. That was just a whole lot of fun. And I know there's going to be some people that are coming in here now, and you're probably thinking to yourself, well, the Thunder didn't have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. How much stock do you put into this game? Granted, if you're playing against the actual Thunder, I don't think this goes the way that it did. But Rockets can't control who they're playing, and everyone contributed in some way. I mean, Jabari Smith goes a long period where he didn't even shoot, but he hit some clutch shots down the stretch. Dylan Brooks, ice cold for a while, hits 2 huge threes to open up at overtime. Amen Thompson had 25 and 15. The guy's a great rebounder. He had some, I thought, nice high-energy moments from Jayshawn Tate early on, but he didn't play that much. Jock Landale's been doing pretty well and when called upon, with obviously no Alperen Şengün. This was really a tremendous effort by the Rockets tonight. And, I mean, I'm wearing a fucking Rockets jersey right now. Sun's out, guns out. There aren't really any guns here, but you get what I'm trying to say. It's a Mario Ellie jersey. Because I'm a hipster like that. Let's read some comments. YouTube.com/Paul Gallant. Twitch.tv/Gallant says, WW Spartacus says, late-ass motherfucker. Fuck you guys. I'm actually doing this. They ain't paying me for this. Mike D says, Jalen real AF, bro. Yeah, at least right now. There's a part of me that's wondering when this is all going to go back to what it was before. But, I mean, he's cocky now, too. After Monday's game, he basically said, what was it? What did he say? Monday's game, he said, yeah, teams should take notice. Yeah, we're paying attention to what Golden State does. Unfortunately, Golden State keeps on hanging around. And after this game, he said, we're going to make it into the play-in tournament. They're looking forward to that game against Golden State next week. Cornbread Fred asks, am I hammered? Nah, not yet. I'm going to wait till tomorrow for that, at opening day. Dorino1 says, when Jabari shot that last three, I was like, no, yes. And he nailed it, though. Tor McJohnson says, I believe the Rockets need to win out to get in the play-in. I mean, we'll talk about the Warriors in a little bit, but let's take a look at the schedule ahead. Because it does get pretty tough. So, the Jazz aren't very good, but the Mavericks look like they're heading to the playoffs. Timberwolves look like they're heading to the playoffs. That game's on the road. Timberwolves are heading to the playoffs. What am I talking about here? Home game against the Warriors on the 4th. Home game against the Heat the very next night. That's a shitty back-to-back to draw. Mavericks again on the 7th. The Magic. Magic have a pretty good record as well, if I'm not mistaken. At the Jazz. At the Blazers and at the Clippers. So really the rest of the way, it's the games against the Jazz and the one game against the Trailblazers that are games you should win. The rest are toss-ups at best. With the way they're playing right now, is it possible for them to keep this up? And there were moments on Monday against the Blazers where I was wondering, okay, maybe things are coming back to earth a little bit. But this game tonight was just one of those games where you're thinking to yourself, yeah, they're going to get it done. Even with Josh Giddey scoring 31 points somehow. Josh fucking Giddey, come on. WOW Spartacus says, can we get a wellness check on the Trade Green crowd? I'm not going to get too mad at them. And I was in a spot where I was thinking to myself, at the end of the year, you definitely think about it. But don't get it twisted. He was bad up to that point. And since then, he's been incredible. I think I've seen Bruce Williams compare this to the Linsanity run. I think it's a great comparison, except for with Jalen Green, it's believable because of how athletic he is. No offense to Jeremy Lin. Lin wasn't that athletic. Green is fast as shit. Sometimes reminds me of John Wall with his ability to dribble up the court as fast as he does. It's like a Tyreek Hill kind of speed where you don't know how he's able to move as quickly as he does, but god damn, he's fast. I'd love to see him play football, to be perfectly honest. Aurelio Corona comments, Warriors, come out to play. You guys need to do yourself a favor, and on my Twitter I have it. Akalon says, Tari Eason on his Instagram story afterwards did a perfect impersonation of that guy from the movie The Warriors, calling out the Warriors to come fight. That weird-ass New York gang scene. Lots of movies about weird tribal gangs in New York City. There's Gangs of New York, of course, as well. Tormac Johnson is patting himself on the back saying, I've always believed in Jalen Green. I feel like a lot of people do not share that opinion. And again, I'm not going to fault them. Skeeter 2 times says the Rockets are growing right before our eyes. That indeed they are. Deverick Grant says, how sweet it is, Paul. The Rockets are balling tonight. You are wearing the right jersey tonight. Yeah, Mario Ellie, baby. Quell, man, did Houston sports just enter the golden age? We've done this before. We used to have fun with this topic. I think Mike Meltzer and I used to always just say, is this the golden age of Houston sports? The Rockets have to make the playoffs, I think, for us to feel that way. But you feel great, obviously, about the Texans going forward. The Astros, they're a top 3 team in the American League. It's them, it's Baltimore, it's Texas. Maybe it's the Yankees. So you're feeling pretty good about their chances to get back to another ALCS. But I feel like the Rockets got to make the playoffs, and we got to figure out what the fuck's going to happen when Alperen Şengün's healthy, along with Jalen Green. Is this possible? Do they stagger things? The way Green's playing right now, you want to make things work for Green because the more recent hot hand would be Green. And you wonder if Şengün even does come back. What other comments do we have here? Dever Grant says, the kiss of death jersey you're rocking tonight, bro. Indeed. I think I'm going to try to do it. Don't get pissed off at me, but I think it's the left hand. Might be the right hand. I'm going to have to workshop that one. Skeeter 2 times says the Warriors got an easy schedule. Let's take a look at the Warriors schedule. Schedule talk. The most riveting kind of sports radio there is. At the Hornets, they blow. At the Spurs, they blow. Mavericks, they're good. At the Rockets, we feel like they're pretty good. At the Mavericks, we feel like they're good. Jazz are not in this race anymore. At the Lakers, that's a toughie. At the Blazers, they are the worst in the West, if I'm not mistaken. No, wait, hang on. Is that the Spurs? I forget. I have to look at the standings. But the Blazers are not very good. Pelicans, and then the Jazz. Yeah, the Rockets' schedule is more difficult. So they're going to have to win more often than not. Deverick Grant comments, Steph Curry had tears in his eyes when Draymond got ejected. Sad story is going to be a thriller on April 4th. So let's talk about that. Somehow, the Golden State Warriors, despite Draymond Green getting ejected less than 4 minutes in against the Magic, hung on and won 101-93. If you watch the video, and I'm going to watch it again right now just to make sure I'm doing it right, but there's some sort of foul called, and you're not really 100% sure what's taking place behind the scenes as it relates to Draymond Green. It takes about 16, 17 seconds, and then all of a sudden on the replay, this is from a Barstool Sports tweet, you see someone deliver a technical foul. And then the next thing you know, you just see Draymond Green yapping at the referee. So I'm doing a count right here. We're at 6 seconds, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and then he's out of there. 21 seconds more of Draymond Green being a fucking idiot and continuing to yap at the ref. And we get it, Draymond. You're a hardo. But at a certain point, stop talking, especially when Steph Curry's right there next to you and is tapping you on the chest. And it's a good thing that the Warriors still have Steph Curry, because Curry, in tonight's game, was awesome. He also got help from Andrew Wiggins. But Steph Curry in this game. Oh, wait, Steph Curry actually sucked. So I don't know how they won. I thought Steph Curry did well. I don't know where I saw that statistical number. Curry was 6 of 18 in this game for just 17 points. But what you'll probably remember now going forward is that afterwards, Steph Curry is fucking crying, or at least looks like he's crying. I'm wearing a basketball jersey right now, okay? If you're watching this on YouTube or on Twitch, I'm pulling up my jersey. Steph is like this for a good, I want to say 30 to 40 seconds. And if, in case you didn't see it, I'm going to show it for you right now in our picture in picture. Here is Steph Curry over to the side. And you can see it right here. He's mad, not angry, but sad. And he's looking down at the ground. He's still looking down at the ground. Is he about to puke? Is he about to cry? And now he covers his face in his jersey, and he covers it again. Is he yelling? He looks to be rubbing his eyes. It's a very bizarre look for Steph Curry. Not one that you would have expected. I mean, it's 4 minutes into a late March regular season game. This isn't the last game of his career. No one's been seriously injured. But that's his reaction to Draymond Green. He's got to be sick of this shit. I think I saw on Draymond's Instagram that there was a post saying, like, thankful for my teammates having my back. Okay, yeah, if you're Draymond, you're thankful because they won this game without you. But if you're one of his teammates, who's lighting him up tonight? The only person that really has the pelts on the wall to do that, or seems like he would have the balls to do it, because I don't know that Klay Thompson's about that anymore, especially since he's not as much of a impact player as he used to be. Steph is the only one that can do it. And they still won this game still. Man. It's got to piss you off if you're a Rockets fan, but it's also got to piss you off if you're anybody in the NBA to see that the Golden State Warriors still won a game despite Draymond getting ejected like a fucking idiot. And that's what it was like. It was fucking dumb, dude. Like, okay, we get it. You're mad at the call. You're mad at the T. 5 seconds? Can't get over it? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It was 21 fucking seconds. 21! What are you doing? Tora McJohnson says Draymond placed a prop bet on himself for minutes played. All right, that could be a possibility. Mamoon Sky puts the laughing while sweating emoji, saying, Linsanity? No, it is more like an Anthony Edwards struggling his first 2 seasons until his late second season, and he's a star since then. I mean, that's what I hope it is going forward. Zachary Styles says, do you need SPF 500 during the summer? No, I don't go outside because I'm a day walker. I just never go outside. Ball Y'all says, I really hope Jalen can keep this up and stay in rhythm whenever Sengun gets back. Yep, that's the big question. Ahmad AR comments, youtube.com/Paul Gallant. Jalen Green is a superstar in the making. Thank God the Rockets weren't stupid enough to trade Jalen to the Nets. Would have been a regretful one of all time. Let's go, Rockets. Yeah, I really got to know what the fuck clicked. There must have been some message that Ime Udoka, gave to Jalen Green that caused this change. I don't know what it is. Speaking of old Rockets, or excuse me, not old Rockets, speaking of people involved that Ime Udoka did not want to bring onto the Houston Rockets, did you see James Harden's return to Philadelphia? per my guy, Sean Pendergast, who was actually sitting courtside at this game, it was Harden's first game back in Philly. Let's take a listen to the crowd in this one. Now that is how you should handle the return of some guy who quit on your team. Like that. Harden got a fucking tribute video here. I don't care how long he played here. The way that it ended, asking for a trade, fuck your tribute video, get the fuck out. I get it. The situation wasn't great, but it's a situation that was created because Harden wanted to play most recently before he ultimately left with his friend, Russell Westbrook. He forced that trade. That was never going to work. Ever. Just the two of those guys playing together, as ball dominant as they were. And it seemed like Russell Westbrook got sick of some of the habits of James Harden before asking out, and then Harden asks out. The rest is history. I will never understand this city's fascination with James Harden. I get it. He put up a lot of points. He won an MVP. Never did shit in the playoffs. Never did shit. Embarrassed himself. Embarrassed the city more often than not in the playoffs. And that's how he should have been treated when he came back. There were mixed boos. I remember I was there for, I think, one of his first games back. I don't know if it was Brooklyn, but maybe it was the one with Philadelphia. Whatever the case. There should have been more boos. Philadelphia gets it. No offense. At times, proves it's a better sports town than Houston, which can be a little bit bandwagony, but, I mean, come on. I just don't get the Harden love. I never will. The guy plays basketball without honor and clearly doesn't care about mailing it in on multiple teams. Now, all of a sudden, things are getting a little bit tougher for the Clippers. What's he looking like out there? Toro McJohnson. Harden getting a tribute video is the equivalent of Deshaun Watson getting a tribute video. A little bit different because of the off-the-field stuff with Deshaun Watson. I won't go quite that far. Ball Y'all says, seems Harden's defense gets better after seeing him defend Kawhi the other night. LOL. Yeah, that was pretty funny. In case you didn't see it, Kawhi Leonard's in the corner. He's got a wide open three. He shoots it. And for whatever reason, it must have been just a brain fart. James Harden closed out on Kawhi, held up his hand, and then he tried to make it smooth, so like he runs down the court and he's holding his hand up like he was trying to, like he knew the three was going in before it actually went in. And of course, it doesn't go in. As far as the boos, Worldwide Wob, which is a good basketball Twitter account to follow, says it wasn't Simmons level boos for James Harden back in Philadelphia. There were more. You weren't here that long. We weren't ever making the finals anyway. That offseason video from China is still funny, and we are still somehow playing Tobias instead of Jimmy. Boos. Yeah, more boos probably in Philadelphia should be directed towards the fact that they had that they had Jimmy Butler, and they kept Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler. That's got to drive you crazy. You hate to see it if you're a Philadelphia fan. Anyway, if you got any more thoughts on the Houston Rockets, jump aboard. YouTube.com/Paul Gallant. On Twitter, @GallantSays. Twitch.tv/GallantSays. A couple things I wanted to touch on from the game before I got out of here. This isn't the most important thing in the world, but one of the things whenever I talk about the Houston Rockets is I talk about the War-El Army. I think a lot of Rockets fans have been conditioned to believe that the refs are out to get them at all times. And maybe you feel that way after Dillon Brooks got a technical foul for responding to Josh Giddey rather violently trying to pick Jabari Smith Jr. up from the court after Giddey fouled him. Smith's sitting on the ground, and Smith takes his sweet time to get up from time to time. He got called for a almost delay of game, I think, down the stretch. Maybe it was in overtime. Was it the fourth quarter? I'm not 100% sure. But Giddey stands over him. He's trying to help him up. And Smith isn't looking at him. So Giddey grabs his left arm. And it was a little bit violent the way that he did it. So Dillon Brooks sees that. He comes over and he shoves him. And, of course, it gets replayed. And Dillon Brooks gets a technical foul because Dillon Brooks is Dillon Brooks. I think that the way that Giddey grabbed Jabari Smith's arm was a little over the top. And I can understand why a player would shove him. Brooks has a reputation, so of course they're going to give him a technical. Here's what sucks. Since that's his 16th technical foul, he's going to get suspended. So Jabari Smith got suspended for Monday's game against the Blazers for punching back. And now you're going to see Dillon Brooks get suspended for a game. And then I saw a bunch of the fucking Looney Tunes, Rockets Twitter accounts, losing their goddamn minds because of this moment. There's a guy named Paolo Alves who seems to really be emotionally steady. You know, just exactly the kind of person that you could have a rational, calm conversation with. I based this off of one Twitter interaction where I was trolling him. He got really, really mad that he blocked me. But Paolo Alves tweeted this at one point in the first half. 14 fouls to 7. 4 fouls called on screens. This is an absolute fucking robbery. God forbid someone challenged the Golden Boys for a play-in spot. I don't know how I still watch this garbage-ass league anymore. 15-2 on free throws at the half. All right, calm the fuck down. Calm the fuck down. A lot of Rockets fans operate this way. When fouls are against them, they're acting like the world is out to get them. They want the Warriors to make the play-in tournament over the Houston Rockets. And you know what? Maybe that's true. Maybe there will be more TV ratings with Golden State and Steph Curry and Draymond Green still in for this play-in tournament. But generally, I'm of the belief that even though there's lots of incompetence when it comes to refereeing across all sports, it's a difficult job. You want to give them a little bit of slack. But say you don't want to give them slack. This stuff usually evens itself out. Guess what happened at the end of this game? Guess what happened? Do you know how many fouls the Rockets had? 24. Guess how many fouls the Thunder had? 24. Chet Holmgren fouled out of this game with like 8 minutes left. Credit to the Rockets. He only had 2 points in 18 minutes. And I thought that the refs seemed rather unsure of themselves down the stretch, and instead of riding the high of the home crowd, you know, like some referees sometimes embellish a little bit when they're calling a charge, when they're calling that charge against the away team, doing a little dance essentially out there. I felt like down the stretch with a couple of out of bounds plays that the referees were taking their cues from the Rockets. There was one play where Dillon Brooks forced a turnover, and Dillon Brooks jumped up and down. I was like, oh shit, he's going to get another technical here. I heard a whistle. They had cut away from underneath, from the sideline where the referee was, and I think they were showing a replay. And the next thing I know, it's the Rockets' ball. And there were a couple of moments, like 3 moments like that. Off the top of my head, I don't remember the other ones as vividly as that one, where it felt like the refs were looking at the Rockets and were like, yeah, I think the Rockets are right here. So, Bill Worrell probably enabled you. Bless his heart, broadcasting legend. I know a lot of people have fond memories of Bill Worrell calling Rockets games. I don't want to ruin those memories of him. I just always was annoyed by how focused he would get on one specific referee call and not move on from it. And it was never fun anger at the refs. It was always kind of whiny. At least if you're going to be a homer, go full like psychotic homer. That's what I want. You know, if you're a psychotic homer, if you're entertaining as a homer, I can tolerate bitching and moaning about the referees. But if you're like, you always have to get us, fuck that. I hate that. And I feel like it has essentially brainwashed an entire generation of Rockets fans to always feel like the refs are out to get you. And okay, maybe from time to time they are. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of NBA refereeing, especially in the wake of the Tim Donaghy scandal. But I'm just trying to say this. Calm the fuck down. Okay? Is it that hard? Thanks. What else do we have here? Taylor Bell says, nice jersey, bro. Thank you. Thank you very much. Tormac Johnson, I enjoy seeing Scott Foster owning Chris Paul, except for when he's on the Rockets, but I feel you. Skeeter 2 times says that Paolo is a fangirl. Toro says he blocked him because I made fun of Ronaldo. The soccer Ronaldo? Waka Flocka Buck says, Rockets blog boys are all tax attorneys or civil engineers. Yeah, I don't know if Brad Doe and Biased Houston are that. Every single tweet that they put out is the most positive fucking thing in the world and drives me crazy. But hey, good for them. Good for them these last couple of weeks because everything has been fucking hunky-dory as shit. Although I guess shit's not really hunky-dory. Whatever. You get what I'm trying to say here. I'm giving you a free content before my radio show tomorrow. I wanted to touch on one last thing. I guess this involves politics, pop culture, current events. I think most people would say that I'm not a basketball expert. I could argue I am, but I'll be honest, the last couple of years I have not been following it very hard. This is the first Rockets game that I remember watching start to finish where I felt engaged in a very long time, probably since the 2018 playoffs. But I want to talk about something that happened on the East Coast earlier this week. Something I am not an expert about. I'm going to talk about bridges. And I don't know how many people saw the freight ship collide with the Francis Scott Key Bridge, causing it to collapse instantly, killing 6 road workers. But by now, I'm sure you have seen it. It's really sad. It's going to hurt the city of Baltimore for a very long time. Massive shipping port. And what drives me crazy is that instead of thinking about the people who have died, everyone online became a bridge expert to the point where it actually got funny, just in a fucked up way. Here is all I know about the Francis Scott Key Bridge. It's named after the guy who wrote the Star Spangled Banner. And on top of that, it opened in 1977. It's the second longest bridge in the United States. I guess it was the second longest bridge in the United States. It's the third longest bridge in the world. And it's old. But people got on their hot take horse immediately. And let's just start off with the people that were wondering why the bridge collapsed. That boat weighs like 500 million pounds. If something is moving and weighs 500 million pounds and collides with something holding up a bridge that was built nearly 50 years ago, what do you think's going to happen? Just think about the basic physics of it. It's just going to bounce off. This isn't a yacht or a speedboat. It's a 500 million pound freighter. But seeing the dumb on the internet with people wondering why the bridge wasn't built better. Well, they were expecting, freighter ships to not crash into the pylon. The last time this happened in the United States happened actually in my own backyard. I used to live in St. Petersburg, Florida, for those who don't know. There is a bridge called the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. It is the second version of the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. In 1980, a boat similarly collided with this bridge, killed 35 people. There's an iconic picture of a guy who was able to stop his car right before the spot where the bridge just falls into the water. Horrible tragedy. There's nothing you can really do when a boat that big collides with a bridge. There's really nothing you can do. But this wasn't the only series of bad takes that we saw. Some people just don't understand basic physics and are of the expectation that you need to build a bridge that's the third longest in the world over and over again and bring it up to code. Well, that involves money, and it involves people who are willing to spend that money. When you have a bridge that's that long, do you really want to put money into that again, even if it is maybe in your best interests? The infrastructure in our country, not the best, obviously. We haven't really been renovating it that much. But this is a hard bridge to renovate, no matter what. But also, people who watched that Netflix movie with Julia Roberts, Leave the World Behind, immediately assumed that this thing was hacked and that's why it crashed. And okay, maybe we'll find out eventually that it was. But the fact that people went to that first is 100% a byproduct of people watching that fucking movie and thinking that because they've seen movies that they know what happened. And they feel the need to fire off a take about it. It's so funny the way that this shit works. Do you need to comment on Instagram about something immediately after it happens? Do you need to comment on Twitter about something immediately after it happens without any facts and just fucking speculate? And I don't know, maybe this is like the Big J journalist who is hidden deep inside me, but I just don't get why people want to be first when it comes to weighing in on shit like this. I don't get it. I don't get it. Some assholes have made this about the mayor of Baltimore, Brandon Scott, like it's his fault that this fucking boat from, I think, Singapore collided with the bridge and it collapsed. It's no one's fault. And people were asking, like, well, I mean, what could you have done about this? Hey, fuck that. Let's try to find all the people who went into the water. And they had to call off the search for some of these people, but it's not about the mayor. The Washington Post wrote an article talking about Francis Scott Key and how he was problematic. Who fucking cares? The guy who wrote the Star Spangled Banner. There's a kind of racist verse in there, for those who don't know. But everyone became a bridge expert over the course of the last week. And then moved on from talking about the people who had died to some sort of hot political take. We need to have better bridges. I don't understand how that bridge could collapse. It must have been a terrorist hacking. I can't believe this affirmative action hire mayor didn't do anything about it. What the fuck is he supposed to do? Well, this is just a further proof that Francis Scott Key needs to be canceled. Shut the fuck up. God, awful, 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 awful. So I wanted to get that off of my chest. Politics, everybody. Or I guess pop culture. Current events. I don't know. It'll be a news segment recurring. We will be back at this tomorrow night after Astros opening day to talk about what happened with the Astros and Yankees, to review Minute Maid Park on opening day and everything around it. In the meantime, a shout out to the Houston Rockets. They deserve a ton of credit for what they did tonight. That was a fucking hell of a win. It's the best win in, I think, years. It's the best win of the season thus far. And it's the best game of Jalen Green's career in a stretch where he is playing out of his mind. 37 more points, 7 of 11 from outside. And if you were watching a little bit earlier, highlight after highlight after highlight after highlight after highlight after highlight. An incredible night. The Rockets are now 2 games over 500. It's going to be a tough close to the season with the teams that are ahead on the schedule, but they're really, really fun to watch. If you watch tonight, you know what I'm talking about. If you didn't watch tonight, if you're just watching this live stream and you're wondering what you missed out on a lot. Keep watching them. They've earned your eyeballs the rest of the way. Anyway, that's going to wrap up today's show. You can check it out in podcast form on Apple or Spotify. If you haven't already, subscribe to it on podcast form. Yeah, do that. Subscribe. Rate it, review it, tell a friend, roast it. And if you haven't done so already, whether you are someone who likes to watch on YouTube, at Paul Gallant, or on Twitch, at Gallant Says, or on my Twitter, at Gallant Says, or on my Instagram, at Sports Gallant, or on my Facebook, facebook.com/Paul Gallant Sports. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, all that jazz. So long, farewell, have yourselves a wonderful rest of your Wednesday night. I'll be back at it tomorrow morning with Joe George, Gallant and George, noon to 3, ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Until then, peace!